It ain't good for real. For real.
Oh.
It ain't good for real.
It ain't good.
It ain't good for real.
For real?
For real. For real. For real.
For real?
For real. It ain't good for real. For real.
Oh,
It ain't good for real.
Give me a second.
For real.
Give me a second to get
It
this
ain't good
right.
for real.
Give me a second to get this right.
For real. For
Give me a
real.
second to get
For
this
real.
right.
For real.
So what has
It
my
ain't
coach
good
been
for
up
real.
to? My
For
coach
real.
and y'all,
It ain't
Pastor
good for
Tim, what
real.
has he been up to?
For real.
Anything
It
good?
ain't good for real.
Not really.
For real. For real. For real.
Not really anything
For
good?
real. It ain't good for real.
Is it for real?
For real.
Is it
It
for
ain't good for
real?
real.
Or is it for real?
It ain't good for real. For
Oh
real.
man, so he showed some
For
flashback
For real.
footage of
It
him
ain't good for real.
back in Jackson.
For real.
And
It ain't good for real.
I guess he was talking about this,
For real.
what was
It
it?
ain't good for real. For real. For real.
Staying under faith in some type of demonstration. This sermon, his best sermon ever. Okay, I'm sorry. His best sermon when he was back in Jackson. Okay, we know that he hasn't done any sermons or any ministry work for the past 6-7 years. But his favorite sermon, his sermon that captivated the crowd. Okay, the remaining under faith sermon, where he grabbed an umbrella. And he was demonstrating that faith is like being, patience is about being, staying under faith, I guess. I don't know. But he was talking about the fact that I guess he had someone help him out with the demonstration for his captivated crowd. Was it standing room only? Okay, because we know he only had a dozen congregants. And we know that included Megan and the boys. Okay, so standing room only would imply that they didn't have any chairs. Did they not have chairs? We don't know. Oh, he doesn't show us that much? Is that right? Okay, so, but what I understand is he was trying to demonstrate that the umbrella represented faith, whereby somebody could pour rain or bucket water onto his head and he wouldn't worry about getting wet. Okay, well, is that why he told the young man to pour it slowly? Because he wasn't worried about getting wet? He was worried about getting wet. Okay. All right, but this was supposed to be a demonstration about faith. Is that right? Okay, well, so now, who had more faith in that situation? In that demonstration, who displayed more faith? Okay, was it the cowardly young man that grabbed an umbrella and said, I ain't about getting wet? Okay? I barely take one bath or one shower per day anyway. Okay, I'm not about getting wet in the meantime. Okay? Unless we're talking about me sweating. Okay? We do know that I sweat profusely. I sweat profusely just from talking. Okay, not from actual work. Okay? But just from talking, I sweat profusely. But I'm not about getting wet. I don't appreciate getting wet. And so who demonstrated more faith? Was it the person holding the umbrella? Y'all's Pastor Tim. And I understand that he was actually a pastor, albeit a bootleg pastor. Although his ordination is questionable. It was questionable. It is questionable to this date. So who displayed more faith? The cowardly gentleman that grabbed the umbrella? Or was it the faith that was displayed by the young man? Okay? The young man that actually climbed up the ladder. The young man that scaled the ladder with this 5-gallon pail of water. Okay, did he display the most faith in that situation? Okay, all right. Considering how dangerous that was. Okay, he was trying to balance himself on that ladder with the water, with the slippery steps on the ladder. Okay, was he actually the one that displayed the most faith? Was he the one? Okay, did he have the faith that if he fell and broke his neck, that his pastor Tim would be able to heal him the same way that he healed, I guess, multitudes of sick folk in Jackson? Was it multitudes? Was it a couple? Was it a few? Was it one? We don't know for sure. Okay, so there's no evidence to corroborate my coach's story about healing the sick. Okay, all right, so we have to take his word for that. Okay, all right. What about him raising the dead? We know that he claimed that he raised the dead in Jackson. Okay, and surely that will be documented. Okay, so did he raise them from the dead off of their deathbed? Did he raise them from the dead from a hospital gurney? Did he raise them from the dead at the cemetery? Okay, at what point did he raise them from the dead? He was just joking about that? Is that okay? So how do we know if he's joking about his lies or if he's being straightforward about his lies? How do we know the difference? How do we know which lies he's joking about and which lies he's being serious about? We don't know the difference. It doesn't matter. Not for his foolish Tim Faithful. For his foolish Tim Faithful, it doesn't matter. Okay. Okay. All right. So what else? What else has he been up to? He was dry begging. Oh, is that right? He was displaying the mug that he received from one of his donors. Is that right? About remaining under faith, remaining under the umbrella. Is that right? Now, I thought that they were using those disposable cups, and Megan was writing the inspirational messages on the cups. Okay, and so now he's using a mug, an open mug, and he's out there in the rain. Is that right? Collecting all of that acid rain. Okay, it doesn't matter what type of rainwater falls into the cup. Is that right? Okay. All right, and so I guess he was trying to demonstrate for us that he drinks black coffee, and I guess that's what dominant males do. They drink black coffee. Is that right? And at one point, he claimed that he had given up sugar. He's like, no. I'm sorry. It's too early in the morning. It's too early in the day. Okay, for me to start out with too many lies. Okay, I already have my lies lined up. Okay, I already have my exaggerations lined up. Okay, and so let me just cut back on the tales that I'm going to tell you guys. And he's like, no, I really did not cut back on the sweets. Okay, certainly you guys have caught me on camera eating the sweets. Okay, okay, well, I can't lie about it if you caught me on camera. And he's like, well, no. When I say that I cut back on sweets, when I claim that I don't eat sugar anymore, I was only referring to the coffee. I'm like, okay, coach. So does that mean that you had your black coffee with a glazed donut before you left the mobile home? Does that mean that you had your black coffee with a big old bowl of Fruit Loops? Did you have a big old bowl of Frosted Flakes before you left the house? We don't know for sure. But he tried to clean it up and say, no. When I say that I stopped eating sugar because I'm on this new walk, this more healthy walk, I'm talking about simply the sugar in my coffee. That's all I'm talking about. And I'm like, okay, coach. All right. So what else? What else has he been up to? Okay. So he talked about how folks in different cultures, they have a tendency to bring each other down. And he talked about people in the white culture. I'm not sure that there is a white culture, but okay, coach. He talked about people in the white culture and people in some Asian cultures bringing each other down. And I'm like, okay, coach. All right. I mean, I'm not sure how I should put this, coach, but clearly you know nothing about other cultures. And of course, he got around to the fact that people in a supposed black culture have a tendency to bring each other down. I'm like, okay, coach, we've been through this before, coach. Okay. You do not, and you have never, at least not in the past several years, you have not identified as being part of some supposed black culture. Okay, coach? All right, so you know nothing about the black culture. Okay, you know nothing about the African American culture. Okay, and you know very little about just the American culture. Okay, coach? But you talk about, well, when people are bringing others down or when they try to bring others down, okay, sometimes they just elevate those folks. And I'm like, okay, coach, well, I guess that would be what you have been modeling for us for the past few weeks, because you've been on a roll with your reaction to the reaction channels, with your rants about the reaction channels, with the amount of time that you're dedicating to your fixation, your obsession with the reaction channels, coach. How is that raising you up? I'm not sure how that's raising you up, coach. All right, coach. You try to encourage your subscribers to turn off the reaction channels, coach, but you yourself cannot turn them off, coach. You can't turn them off. You're in them, coach, all day, every day. And somehow you convince Megan to add on extra filming or extra YouTube activity in the way of these promotional videos, these trailers. That's what you call them, trailers. You convince Megan to add on extra YouTube busy work for you as far as these trailers go. And you try to claim, it doesn't take up much extra time. Well, first of all, it takes the time of you actually filming them. Of course, you have to write a script for these supposed promotions for the trailers, and then you have to put everything together and you have to edit it. All right. And so you can claim that it doesn't take much time. Clearly, it takes at least an hour. At least an hour. Okay. Those of us that have some experience on producing content on the YouTube, I would say those 10-minute trailers, those 10-minute trailers that you're putting together, at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half, if you're efficient about it. If you're efficient. Okay, that means if you fully shut out the boys, including little Benjamin. If little Benjamin wants to nuzzle up next to you, you're like, Benjamin, I'm editing. I'll see you in a few years. I'll see you in a few years once you become a man. Okay, come back and try to nuzzle up next to me after you graduated from high school in a couple of years with the other boys. And so now, if you're able to shun all of your family members, if you're able to shun all of your duties as a father, as a true father, you're able to shun all of your duties as a husband, as a helpmate. Remember that helpmate, being helpful for your mate, that's supposed to go both ways. So if you're able to shun all those outside distractions, they're not outside distractions. Okay, they're inside. Oh, they're not distractions at all. Those are supposed to be his number one priorities. Is that right? Okay, but you're saying he has to push all that to the side because now he has to do these goofy trailers, these AKA trailer trash, trailer trash. Okay, I mean, when you talk about a trailer that's about 9 minutes long, and you talk about the fact that it's 1 minute of intro, okay, it's about 3 minutes of nonsense in between, and there's 2 minutes of rambling, 2 minutes of rambling. Okay, he's consistent about the rambling. Okay, and so you talk about 1 minute of the intro, you talk about a few minutes of the foolishness, and you talk about a couple minutes of rambling, and you're like, okay, well, let me wrap it all together, let me edit it, and let me post it. And then he's claiming that you faithful 10 followers, you get it for free. And I'm like, okay, isn't all of YouTube free? It's just some type of narrative that he's trying to push. With his Ready Tim Riders, is that right? So these trailers are free, but the regular IAG videos are not free. Okay, the woeful, what used to be the Resurrection Ranch, that stuff is not free. The goofy P2P nodcast, those aren't free. So what is he talking about? These trailers, you get them for free. Oh my goodness, is that what he's on? Is that what he's on now? Oh yeah. Okay, all right. So has he been up to anything else? Anything else? Oh, yeah? Okay, so he had the young man out to the IAG. He opened the gates. He actually opened the gates for a young man to come in. Okay, and so can we assume that the young man was not a licensed contractor? Can we make that assumption? Are we all safe in that assumption? Okay, because we know he doesn't work well with licensed contractors. And I guess the your young man was about 22 years old, right? And I guess he had a couple of things in common with Tim. All right. And apparently Tim had some issues with his septic system. The system that has gone largely neglected. Has gone neglected until Megan starts to complain about the smell. Until she complains about the smell of the poop being sprayed out onto the grass, being sprayed out into the woods, pretty close to the house. Okay, pretty close to the house. At one point, I thought it was off in the distance. Okay, but upon further review in this video, that spraying of the poop, the treated poop, it's not far from the mobile home. And so it's understandable why eventually Megan would complain. Okay, and of course, Megan's like, man, Tim, I've had enough of this stuff. He's like, I've had enough of this stuff. Okay, not only does our farm look like stuff, but it also smells like stuff. You disappointing son of a bitch. Get out there and do something about it. And Tim's like, okay, who would dare accept, who would accept an offer to come onto my property and do some type of work? Okay, and who could I allow on the property? And so I guess he found some 22-year-old young man that was willing to work in trying to alleviate Tim's septic problem with his poop and the property smelling like poop. And he's like, well, okay, now we're accustomed to it smelling like poop with regard to the hogs, with regards to the fowl, of course, with regard to Gideon and Solo. Okay, and so even though Solo has left the farm, okay, all of that poop that he left behind is still there. It's still there, fertilizing the soil. Okay, and so of course, and not to mention the sheep poop, and so of course they're like, well, we're accustomed to it smelling like animal poop. Okay, but Megan's like, I draw the line. When I draw the line when this place starts smelling like human poop. When it starts smelling like human feces. And you're just spraying it around. You're just spraying it around, okay? We flush it down the toilet and you spray it around. All because you can't upkeep the system, Tim? You disappointing. But I guess Tim brings in the young man. Of course, we recognize that he's unlicensed, that he's uncertified. I'm not sure which company he might even work for. I'm not even sure in that regard, considering the fact that the young man is digging around in the septic system without any gloves or without any protective equipment. Okay? And of course, the reason why we know is because y'all's Pastor Tim is documenting it. Okay? He's videotaping it. Okay? And either the young man doesn't care or he doesn't have a choice in the matter. Okay? So maybe Tim, when he offered the contract, he said, well, you can come and do the work. Okay? Nearly for free. Okay? Nearly for free. Because I'm not going to pay you a living wage on this. I don't do that. Okay? But if you're going to take on, if I'm going to take you and allow you to do this project for me, you have to allow me to film it. Okay? And either the man didn't care, the young man didn't care and said, hey, I'm all about the ducats. As long as I get my ducats, I don't care what you do. So either he didn't care about the filming or he didn't have a choice. He had to accept it in order to fulfill the contract. Okay. But of course, Tim is following this boy around and the boy picks up his pace and he's walking. He's trying to do certain things around there and Tim picks up his pace as well. And I'm like, I've never seen Tim move so fast. And Tim's like, okay, hold on. Okay. Tell me about your past. Okay. Yeah. You had some transgressions in the past. Is that right? Did you do some time in the penal system? Okay. And Tim is trailing him. He's following the boy quickly. Oh, you did all your goofy stuff when you were 16 to 17. Well, I spent 7 years in prison. And the boy's like, okay, I didn't come for all that. Okay. All right. If I want to hear about prison stories, I can talk to my homies. I can talk to my homies back in Jackson. Okay. I didn't come out here to this supposed farm to hear prison stories. I came out here to get away from the nonsense and to make my money. Okay. So back off. But all right. Has he been up to anything? Anything else? Not too much else. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, before I get to my reaction to the recent P2P nodcast, where Tim talks about starvation or being hungry or what have you. First, I want to recognize you guys that have been active in the comments. Keep that commentary flowing. Keep that dialogue going both ways. I would like to thank you heavies. I would like to thank you guys. Okay. But you guys have been light. You guys have been extra light lately. All right. But I'll be here when you guys want to get back in the comments. When you heavy Tim followers want to get back in the comments and start wilding all over again, I'll be here. And in the meantime, I'll be digressing. Welcome back to the end game, where today I'm going to give my reaction to that recent P2P nodcast about starvation or hunger. Okay. So I'm going to give my reaction to that video here. Early on in the video, Tim talks about being hungry for greatness or starving for greatness. Okay, we know that my coach is starving for attention. We know he's starving for attention. All right, and he may be obsessed with greatness. Okay, considering the fact that he often talks about domination, and somehow he equates domination with being great. Okay, you don't have to dominate your household in order to be great in your household. He often talks about annihilation. You know, like, okay, coach, you don't have to annihilate those around you in order to be great in their eyes. Okay, all right. And so here, it seems like this is going to be leading toward an actual pep talk for my coach, a pep talk for my coach himself. Okay. I was starting to get the impression that these motivational speeches were targeted at himself. He was trying to motivate himself. Okay. We know that he's chosen to use part of these as confessionals when he's making his own personal confessions. Okay. And so here we're talking about him being starved for attention, being starved for greatness. And I guess he's seeing a certain amount of frustration. He's feeling a certain amount of frustration because no matter what he does not appear to be great in the eyes of those boys. Okay, he may appear to be big, he may appear to be massive. Okay, big old and massiveness, but not necessarily great in the boys' eyes. And then certainly with Megan, with his domination, his manipulation, and his control of Megan. Okay, certainly with his programming of Megan, with his indoctrination, he certainly does not feel as though he's truly risen to a point of greatness. He's like, okay, I'm doing all this stuff. I'm controlling all of the narratives. Okay, I'm controlling Megan's narrative. I'm trying to portray her as being a happy housewife, a happy homeschooler. Okay, even though I've handicapped her, even though I've handcuffed her in her efforts in order to implement effective homeschooling for my boys. Okay, and so I've done all these things. I've controlled her narrative. I've controlled the narrative of the boys and rushing them through their childhood. Okay, and so I've controlled all that stuff. Okay, I have a Jesus complex. Okay, I have a God complex. And so even with all of that, okay, even with all of that, I still do not feel like I'm great. I still do not feel like I've achieved certain greatness. Okay, and certainly my viewers have noticed that about me, no matter what I say. Okay, they've noticed that I have not achieved greatness. And so apparently the frustration is boiling over for my coach. It's boiling over. All right, just like his reactions to the reaction channels, okay? His venom toward the reaction channels, his hate for the reaction channels boiled over, and he started ranting every other video for his P2P nodcast. Apparently, my coach is starting to be frustrated by the fact that he has not achieved, hasn't even come close to achieving the greatness that he thought he would experience. But tell us more, Coach. Tell us more.
P2P motivation, here we go. So you're hungry for greatness, but are you starving for greatness? Because I know that you're hungry. I know that you want to be great. I know that you want to win. I know that you want to conquer, but are you starving? Because I know that when you first started this journey, whatever the mission is the Lord gave you, when you first started the path that you're on,
so there it is. Coach talks about, initially in marriage where we're quote unquote starving. Especially if we just get out of prison, if we've just been released from prison. Okay, all right. And we've had enough of the prison love. Okay, we've grown tired of our prison boo. Okay, and we actually want a female boo. We decide we want a female boo, and we want that affection. And so we're starving for that affection. So initially, when we get out of prison, we're energetic. We're energetic about this woman that we found. We're energetic about this wife that we convinced to wed. Okay, and I was like, okay, Coach, well, this makes sense because I know moments ago in the one video you were talking about how years and years ago, I guess you were laying out the roses for Megan. I guess you ran a bath for Megan. I guess you turned out the lights for Megan. Okay, you were doing all this stuff for Megan in the early days, and you got complacent. And you said, hold on now, I don't really need a wife in the purest sense of the term. Okay, I don't really need that. Okay, all I need is someone to handle the business of IAG. Okay, handle the business of IAG and pop out these boys. Okay, so they will be forever yoked. All right, pop out these boys so I can create these men. I can create these man boys. Okay, and so apparently your affection and your care for Megan has waned over the years. Okay, those of us that are longtime viewers, we haven't seen it in years upon years, okay? But it's nice to hear you admit it, Coach. All right, it's nice to hear you admit it. But you also talk about, well, sometimes when people start a new job or what have you, and I'm like, okay, Coach, here you are, coaching people on starting a new job. Obviously, you have no experience with that, Coach. But tell us more. Tell us more.
First started going to school, and when you first started working this new job that you prayed for, when you first got married, you know what I'm saying? We're like that a lot of times in marriage. We're excited. We're starving, you know what I'm saying, to be married and be in a successful marriage. We're starving to be in relationship. But it's like over time, we just went from starving to being just hungry. You know what I'm saying? We went from just being hungry.
Tim alludes to the difference between having a little bit of appetite, being hungry, and being starved. And I'm like, okay, Coach. All right. Now, clearly, Coach, you have hunger. You're hungry. And we know what you're hungry for, Coach. You're hungry. You're desperate. Okay. All right. You know, we're already familiar with these money grabs, these various money grabs that you call innovation. Okay. And if those are not the actions of a person that's hungry, okay, that person that's hungry, then what is, Coach? Okay. So we know you have a certain amount of hunger. When it comes to starvation, clearly Megan is the only one, other than those boys. I mean, people question what's going on with the boys. But other than the boys, Megan is the only one that's starving around there. Okay, all right. Obviously, Megan is starving for some type of support, marital support. Okay, child rearing support. She's starving for it. Okay, she's starving for some personal time, some relaxation time for herself. Okay, some me time for herself. She's starving for it. Okay, forget about the affection. Okay, forget about being nurtured by her husband. She's starving for that stuff. Okay, all right. And so when we talk about being hungry, Coach, you have a certain level of hunger with regard to monetary gain. Megan clearly has a certain amount of starvation with regard to her emotional support that she receives around the farm. Okay, just like you have a certain amount of anxiety and depression and insecurity, certainly Megan has a certain amount of stress and strain on her. Okay, and that leads to issues. Okay, that leads to issues with her hair. Okay, why she has issues with her hair falling out or her hair being damaged. Okay. At one point, people thought she was wasting away. Okay. They thought she was looking like a sack of skin and bones, skin and bones, compared to how she looked previously. And certainly a lot of people equated that to her being stressed. Okay. And so Megan is starving. She's the only one. She's the only one that's starving around that farm. Okay. You're apt to go out to the co-op and pick up feed for your hogs. Okay, pick up grain for the chickens or for the other fowl. Pick up feed for the sheep. Okay, you're quick to do that, Coach. All right, but what about feeding Megan? What about feeding Megan? Okay, the rest of us can see that she's starving. Okay, we can see it, Coach. Why can't you?
Hungry to just having a little bit of appetite. You know what I'm saying? And we allowed ourselves over time, after we accomplished the things that the Lord put on our heart, after we accomplished those things that we had dreams to do, over time we found ourselves not having that starvation for greatness anymore. And I'm calling you back to that starvation, because I know that once you accomplish.
All right, Tim starts beating his chest, and we know what it means when he's beating his chest. Okay, he's not saying I'm the man, I'm the man. When he's beating his chest nowadays, he's trying to motivate himself. Okay, we know he's trying to jumpstart himself. Okay, and so he talks about accomplishing certain things and resting on your laurels and getting comfortable and taking a break for a couple of years. And I'm like, okay, why does that sound familiar? Okay, so because we know that they have been on hiatus from their supposed ministry for 4 to 5 years now. Okay, they've been on hiatus. They've been on sabbatical for 4 to 5 years. It's been on pause, dead pause, as far as their ministry work goes. Okay, and so we know when he's beating his chest and he's like, "I'm calling on you," he's really talking to himself. He's saying, "Tim, crank it back up, Tim. All right, Tim." Because that's the only way that you're going to keep this facade of a ministry going. Okay, you got to crank it back up. You got to do some type of ministry work. Okay, not all of your Ready Tim riders are falling for the fact that these YouTube videos are a supposed YouTube ministry. And so Tim is like, I got to crank it back up. I've been resting for a couple of years. All right, I got to rekindle that starvation. Okay, I've gotten fat. No, he wasn't talking about physically fat. He's talking about he's gotten fat off the donations. He's gotten fat off the tips. He's gotten fat off the gifts. Certainly he's gotten fat off of the offerings. He's gotten fat off of it. Okay, and so he's trying to jumpstart himself. Okay, and get that starvation back. Get that starvation back. But go ahead, Coach. We're listening. We're listening.
those goals, I know that you kind of settled in a little bit. You took a couple years, you took a couple months to just enjoy the hard work, the fruit of your labor. And I don't disagree with that. But now I'm calling you to build that starvation back. I'm calling you to build that intense hunger back so that you can achieve the things that the Lord wants you to achieve, so that you can be greater and greater and greater, so that you won't just do good work.
All right, so Tim goes back, he's beating his chest, and he's like, I'm calling on you to have an intense hunger. I'm calling you to have some type of starvation. And I'm like, okay, coach, if this is not a motivational, this is a self-imposed, a self-directed motivational talk for yourself, coach. And I'm like, okay, who has to pick up a camera in order to try to motivate themselves? Okay, who has to talk angrily into a camera in order to stir themselves up, in order to stir up their emotions? Okay, what pastor, first of all, what pastor? Shouldn't a pastor be able to simply go to the word in order to motivate themselves? Okay, shouldn't they be able to be motivated by the word itself, by the scripture? Okay, why do they have to beat on their chest? And I'm calling on you, and okay, what are you trying to conjure up? What are you trying to conjure up, coach? All right, but we hear you. We understand that this is directed. This is self-directed, coach. We get it. It's just a little bit goofy that you rely on YouTube for so much, coach. Okay, we do know that you rely on YouTube in order for monetary gain. We know that you rely on your subscribers. You definitely rely on your donors in order to profit your family, in order to support your lifestyle. But now you're relying on YouTube. We know that you watch others' motivational videos. But now, coach, now you're trying to create videos that you can watch yourself in order to pump up yourself, coach. All right, we know that you watch your own videos on loop inside of the mobile home. We know you watch it on loop. Okay, coach, but I'm like, what type of insecurity is there that you have to portray a certain image? You have to put on a certain front. Okay, try to pretend to be something that you're not, and then watch your own videos in order to try to convince yourself that you are. Okay, coach. They used to say you are what you are. All right. I think it was the Cowardly Lion that said, I am what I am, and that's all. I think it was the Cowardly Lion. Okay, coach. But you are what you are, coach. But all right.
Works, but you'll do greater works, as we're called to do in the Bible, so that you won't just live life, but you'll live abundant life, as Jesus calls us to do, so that you won't just be a conqueror, but you'll be more than a conqueror. I'm calling you to starve for greatness. I'm calling you to starve for growth. I'm calling you to have an intense hunger where you
Tim says it's time for you to take that fire to the next level. The level that you're at is not good enough. And I'm like, oh, hold on now. What kind of motivational talk is this? So you're telling your foolish Tim Faithful that they're not good enough. Wherever they are in life, it's not good enough. Is that right? It's not good enough? Really? Okay. All right. Is that some type of inverted prosperity gospel? What is that? It's not good enough. Whatever level you're at, it's not good enough. Okay? Don't become complacent. He says it's time to take it to the next level. What would that next level be? We know that you're trying to claim that you're being innovative nowadays by putting out these trailers or these promos for these trailers. And you're trying to be innovative and come up with new streams of income. You're trying to be innovative. And apparently you're not seeing the fruit. Or whatever fruit you're seeing is tainted. It's tainted fruit. Okay? Which means it's good for nothing. It doesn't last. All right? But apparently you're having a certain amount of frustration and you're talking about, okay, now, how do I come up with some new ideas? Okay? How do I solicit new donations? How do I convince them that I actually have a ministry? How do I revive the ministry? AKA the money flow. The real money flow. How do I do it? Maybe if I just beat my chest enough. If I just beat my chest enough and I say, I'm calling on you, but I'm really calling on myself. Okay? Then maybe some greatness or something new will come out of me. And I'm like, coach, you're going the wrong route. You're taking the wrong avenue. Don't come to YouTube for motivation. Okay? Especially you as an ex-pastor, you should know. You should be only going one place. One place for motivation and inspiration, coach. And it ain't YouTube. How did that song go that the boys taught you? Remember the boys taught you that song? What was it? The B-I-B-L-E? The B-I-B-L-E. What? How did it go, coach? You forgot the words to the song, coach? That's where you should be. Not on YouTube. B-I-B-L-E.
You're not willing to yield. You're not willing to take no for an answer. I'm calling you to regain that fire that you had when you were younger, that fire that you had at the beginning of that mission, that fire that you had at the beginning of your marriage. I'm calling you to regain that, lock back in, go to the next level. The level that you're on is not good enough. It's good enough when you look at where you were before. But now you have been here for a while, and now it's time for you to take it to the next level. It's time for you to go to the next level. It's time for you to be greater. It's time for you to lift up.
Tim talks about it's time for you, not time for him, time for you to bring up more people around you. And I'm like, okay, coach, how can you advise anyone on bringing up the folks around you? Okay, how can you do that? All right. You relegated your own mama, Grandma Lily, to being employee number one. You relegated her to being a tenant. Okay. You doomed her for life with that lifetime lease. Okay. As a supposed land steward. All right. And so you're talking about calling on folks to bring people up around them. And coach, I mean, some people say it's never too late. Okay. To make an about face, coach. Some people say it's never too late, coach. But for the past years, all you've done is suppress the people around you. Okay, we do know it's well documented how you've suppressed Megan. Okay, not only did you steal her identity, along with her assets, back when you got out of prison or when you guys wed and when you got married, but you suppressed Megan over the years. Okay, you designate her to be a farmhand. Yes. Although you openly announced that Grandma Lily was going to work harder than she's ever worked in her life, okay, you quietly asserted that Megan was going to do the same. You quietly asserted it over the years. You've worked Megan harder than she ever worked, harder than she imagined working in her entire life, especially when she had a husband. Okay, supposedly a strong-backed husband. Big back. A big back doesn't necessarily mean strong back. Okay, all right. How is that Meg's been working harder than she ever worked, harder than she even imagined working in her life? Okay. But good gracious, all you've done is suppress the folks around you. Okay. Your work with snitching on various contractors is documented. It's in the irrefutable archives of IAG video. It's there. It's there. And so now you talk about trying to bring up people around you. Which people are you referring to? Okay, we know that you've been suppressing/oppressing those boys. Okay, when you've been going in and you've been contradicting everything that Megan's been trying to do with those boys, homeschooling, their education. When you've been throwing roadblocks at Megan on the regular. When you've been yanking those boys from their homeschooling, their paltry homeschooling, the little bit of homeschooling that they get, the low quality of homeschool education that they are afforded. You even interfere with that, coach. You even interfere with that, okay? All right, with their articulation, okay? You interfere with their articulation. You cripple their articulation on the regular, coach. Okay, you cripple their grammar on the regular, their expression on the regular, coach. Okay, when you're constantly throwing out terms like bag it up instead of back it up, coach. All right, you're talking about a travesty when it's really a tragedy, huh, coach? When you telling these boys that, okay, your proper response to everything is just good, all right? So you're crippling those boys. You're handicapping those boys at every turn, coach. And so what are you talking about? It's time to raise those folks up around you, okay? You can only be speaking to yourself, coach, because certainly you're not advising your heavy Tim followers. You're not advising them to do as you do. Certainly, coach. But tell us more, coach. We're listening.
more people that are around you and pull them up. It's time for you to take advantage of more opportunity. It's time for you to increase more and more and more and establish more and more abundance. I know you have it in you. I know that you can do it. I know you can. I believe in you, but you have to start believing in yourself, and you cannot be satisfied at the place where you are. So I'm calling.
Tim says he's calling on you to have a renewed intensity in your schooling or in your work at that job. He's calling on you to have a new intensity in your marriage. Okay, talk about a pep talk. Talk about a pep talk for my coach. Calling on himself. Although, of course, we know he has no experience with schooling, so that part doesn't refer to him. Of course, we know he's never held down a job. He's never held down a job. And so that doesn't refer to him. So the only parts of this that refer to him directly, of course, would be the marriage part. He talks about having a new intensity about the ministry. Okay, and I'm like, okay, coach, you've been away from the ministry for about a decade now. I think it's been a decade. I think it's been a decade. All right, coach. So that's dead. That's dead and gone, coach. It's dead and gone. Although God could use you, he could still use you, coach. As far as you're concerned, it's dead and gone. All right. But now we know God. We know God can raise the dead. Which means there's still hope for you, coach. There's still hope. But you talk about having a renewed intensity with regard to your marriage and how you felt about your husband when he first walked through the door. And I'm like, okay, what are we talking about? Your prison boo? Which husband did you have walk through the door? You talking about like your new cellmate? And you say, okay, with this cell, I thee wed. With this cell, I thee wed, coach. All right. When you were shacking up in prison, with this cell, I thee wed. Which husband did you have intensity about when he walked into the room, coach? You're not ready to divulge that? No, not yet. All right. But then you talk about, also the intensity that you had when your wife walked in the door. Okay, all right, here we go. So now I'm sure we're talking about Megan in this regard. All right, coach. And it is admirable that you're trying to rekindle the excitement, rekindle the intensity, rekindle the focus on your wife, on Megan and her well-being. That's nice to hear, coach. Of course, we'll believe it when we see it, coach.
You right now to begin to have an intense hunger, and I call it starvation for greatness. I'm calling you to want to be great as bad as you wanted to be great in the beginning. I'm calling you to want to have a good marriage as much as you did when you first proposed to that woman. I'm calling you to want to have a good marriage as much as you did when you first saw your husband walk in the room and you saw him for the first time. I'm calling you to have that fervor, that intensity for ministry as you did when you were given your first opportunity to speak or to preach. I'm calling you to have that intensity in school or at work when you were praying for that job and you knew that you wanted a better.
Tim talks about being neither hot nor cold, but being lukewarm. Okay, being lukewarm. And of course, in my coach's case, he's been cold. He's been cold for years, for the past several years with regard to his ministry work. Of course, he's been cold. And so he's talking about, well, the Bible specifies that you're not supposed to be lukewarm. Go one way or the other. Like, okay, coach, well, it's a tangled web. In your case, it's a tangled web, coach. All right. It's a tangled web when you have certain goals, certain financial goals in mind, coach. But you're out there babbling, and I'm like, oh, hey, we must be getting toward the end of this P2P notcast because bring on the rambling is starting to churn itself up again, coach. Okay, it's getting stirred up. So bring on the rambling, and you're out there sweating. And I'm like, okay, coach, all you're doing is you're talking and you're walking and you're walking slowly, coach, and you're talking. All right, and you're gonna blame it on the Mississippi heat, coach. Oh man, coach. So certainly you have a certain amount of anxiety, okay, And certainly the anxiety is in the message that you're supposedly speaking, the message that's supposedly motivational for your followers, supposedly motivational for your followers. But of course, we know that you're only reflecting on yourself, coach. And obviously there's a lot of nerves in that, coach. Okay, confessionals are not easy. They're not easy, coach. Okay. All right, being transparent or slightly transparent, it's not easy. Nobody said it would be easy, coach. And so for you to be out there sweating with all that nervous sweat, okay. All right, coach, it's no surprise for us, coach. But okay, apparently we're about to wrap up this P2P, coach. Go ahead and wrap it up for us, coach. Wrap it up.
Paying job, but you've been at that job for 3 or 4 years, and now you kind of just settled in. You know what I'm saying? You're not hungry. You're not getting up early. You're not getting there early. You're not doing those things that you were doing in the beginning, because like the Bible says, God desires for us to have a fire. He says that we're neither hot nor cold. You know what I'm saying? But we're lukewarm, and you've been lukewarm for a few years now. And this video here is to encourage you to build that fire again. I know I'm sweating a little bit because it's hot out here. It's Mississippi, but y'all get the point.
Coach talks about how initially he had a certain amount of fire, he had a certain amount of intensity, a certain amount of starvation, as it will, okay, when he was starting out. And he's gotten complacent. And I'm like, okay, coach, go ahead with the confessional, coach. All right. We do know that several videos back, you were sitting on your side-by-side and you were telling people, when you were laughing in your followers' faces, you were talking about how easy this is. He's like, this is so easy. It's so easy to take money from you guys. He says it's like taking candy from a baby. And so he got complacent, coach. We know you got complacent because it was easy. And then you started having some challenges. Okay, you started having people scrutinize your videos. People critique your content. People react to your comings and your goings. Okay, to your behavior. People reacting to your behavior and the decisions that you were making around that firm. Mind you, it was stuff that you were posting. You chose to edit and post on the YouTubes. All right, and so we do understand how it was easy. It had gotten easy. You got complacent, but when you first got out of prison, you had a certain amount of intensity. And you're like, okay, how can I get this next hustle going? Okay, and so now, of course, you found Megan. Megan brought certain assets with her. Her assets became your assets. Okay, normally they're joint assets, but we know that you hijacked her assets, her identity in the ministry, but also her assets. We know you hijacked all of that. And so once you successfully commandeered Megan's lifestyle and made it your own, you moved on to the next hustle. We know that you had your Walk by Faith ministry, and that was by all accounts, that was a successful hustle. Considering the fact that you guys got free donations of clothing and food items, free donations, okay, that you guys chose to dip into from time to time or every day. I don't know if it was daily. But you guys felt like those donation boxes were intended for yourselves. Okay. And so you went through that hustle, and I guess at some point you had to flee Jackson. Apparently you had ruffled too many feathers along the way. You had stepped on too many toes along the way, and you had to flee Jackson. You went out to rural Mississippi, and then eventually you started up this YouTube hustle. Okay. You went with the IAG under the guise of it being a ministry. You were receiving tithes, offerings, and donations for your ministry. That was dead. It was dead at the beginning of your YouTube journey. It was dead. Okay. Any effectual ministry was dead when you started your YouTube ministry or your YouTube journey, as I should say. And so now, of course, you're trying to ignite it. You're like, wait, what can I do next? Now that I have folks scrutinizing me, now that I have people reacting to my actions, what can I do next? What's the next hustle? Okay, and you're like, you're trying to conjure it up, and you're trying to pull it out of yourself because you know you can't pull it out of the Bible. Okay, you can't get it from the Lord. You can't get it from God. Okay, you're not going to get a vision that involves hustle. You're not going to get a mission that involves manipulation. Okay, you're not going to get any direction from God that involves conniving. You're not going to get a vision that involves any type of scheming. You're not going to get that from God. And so I guess you're trying to pull it pull it from yourself, coach. Good luck with that, coach. Good luck with it.
For real. I better not get too excited. I don't want to pass that out here. But I want y'all to understand how intense this message is, because you have settled in. You have become neither hot nor cold. You have allowed life to just become complacent or passive. But at first, you had a fire. At first, you had an intensity. At first, you were starving to be in the position that you're in. But now you've gotten in this position and you've just settled in. Reignite that fire. Reignite that intense hunger. Reignite that passion.
Tim talks about trying to reignite that intensity. And he talked about how God has new levels for you. And I'm like, okay, coach, do not put that on God. Okay. Listen, God is not an author of confusion, but he's also not an author of deception. Okay. And so when you're looking for new ways to deceive folks, new ways to deceive your followers, you're not going to get that from God. You coach people about how to deal with vision and missions and what have you. And you're like, okay, how do you interpret them and how do you move forward? And you're like, well, you move forward by seeing something that you want to do. You move forward by deciding what you want to pursue. And I'm like, okay, oh, I thought you were talking about visions from God. Okay, not your own personal goals or visions that you create yourself. And so I'm like, okay, we're getting two messages here, coach. Okay, are those visions coming from God or are those visions self-created? Okay, you're talking about, oh, I want to do this or I want to do that. I want to achieve this. I want to achieve that. I thought at one point you were talking about getting it from God, getting your direction from God. Okay, not from yourself. It should not come from yourself. Okay, it can only lead to failure and destruction ultimately. Okay, with regard to that. Okay, but you're giving them some type of coaching on how to deal with these visions or these missions. And coach, in your case, coach, we know you've been creating your own for years. It's been years where you've been creating your own visions. Okay, any vision that you got from God was set aside. It was set aside years ago. By your own admission, it was set aside. Okay, you claim that God gave you a new mission or new vision in order to go on this YouTube journey. Okay, and I'm like, okay, coach, not too sure about that, coach, but all right. If they believe it, if your followers will believe it, coach, then so be it, coach. But as for me, I can't take any more.
Passion that you had in the beginning. And I guarantee you, the Lord has a new level for you. He has a new experience for you. He has new things that he's going to minister to you as you reignite that fire, as he sees you with that fresh passion. Because he, like the Bible says that when we're lukewarm, it says God spews us out of his mouth when we're neither hot nor cold. But when he sees us on fire, he can connect his fire with our fire. And he can make it like fire shut up in our bones and start delivering and just pouring out vision on us, opening up the windows of heaven, and we'll have all the vision. Because I've been asked multiple times, when I talk about vision, when I talk about passion, when I talk about goals, when I talk about hearing the Lord's voice, people will say, well, how do you hear the Lord's voice? How do you know this? Well, I just don't know how to get started. It's like you get started by whatever's in front of you, having an intense hunger to do that thing. And then as you faithfully fulfill the calling that the Lord has for you on whatever you're a part of right now, and you stop being lukewarm, you stop being neither hot nor cold, then
I can't take no more. I can't take no more. That's it. That's it for my reaction to the recent P2P nodcast. Where Tim talks about starvation. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Chop it up in the comments. Burner Tim, we'll see you in the comments as usual. I want to shoot out some love to my current subscribers. Thank you for showing me that love. I do appreciate it. For those viewers that have not yet subscribed, please consider subscribing so that we can continue to shine that light. Until next time.